Philadelphia News, team of my heart.
You thought the Sixers were going to trade McCain. Think again. This Sixers news changes everything. VJ Edgecombe is coming, and it's Quentin Grimes who may pay the price. You're not ready for what this means. A trade is coming, and it's not the one you expected. You waited for it. The Sixers finally get a high draft pick. And just when you thought the biggest debate was between Ace Bailey and VJ Edgecombe, boom, Edgecombe pulls ahead. But here's the twist, and you won't hear this in any headline. It's not just about who the Sixers pick. It's about who they'll have to trade because of it. You love your roster, right? You look at Jared McCain, and even with the knee injury, you saw what he was becoming. You saw a star rising, Rookie of the Year talk. That wasn't smoke. That was real. So now you're wondering, does drafting Edgecombe mean McCain gets moved? No, not yet. That's not the trade that's coming. The name you didn't expect? Quentin Grimes. Yup, that's the real domino that's about to fall. You've heard his name more this offseason than you expected, right? That's not by accident. If the Sixers grab Edgecombe, someone's minutes, someone's fit. Someone's contract situation is gonna become a problem. And that someone is Grimes. You saw him work. You saw him hit those corner threes, pick up ball handlers full court, scrap for every rebound like it was the playoffs every night. You wanted him to stay. But now you've got a freak athlete in VJ Edgecombe, a guy who's NBA ready, who might already be more explosive, more dynamic, more complete than Grimes. You feel that knot in your stomach. That's what happens when a franchise picks a direction, and it's not the one you were hoping for. You start thinking, wait, is this really happening? And yes, it is. It's real. The Sixers aren't going to risk imbalance. They're not going to let this roster tip sideways just to keep pieces that don't fit. You've seen this before. Too many guards, too many wings, not enough minutes, not enough spacing, bad rotations. And now Nick Nurse, you know how he thinks. He wants control. He wants chess pieces that work. Grimes is a good piece. But Edgecombe, that's a different kind of weapon. So what happens now? Simple. Sixers news is about to explode. And if you've been following the pulse, you already feel it, the sign and trade whispers. You don't just let a young, valuable guard walk for nothing. No, you use that contract. You package that potential. You maximize that asset. You're not heartless. You don't hate Grimes. But you know basketball. You know when a roster starts getting clogged. You see what's coming. And whether it's for a stretch forward, a defensive stopper, or another veteran shooter, this front office isn't sleeping. They know what you know. Balance wins games. Think about it. You've got Maxey, McCain, Gordon, Lowry, Walker for, and now Edgecombe. Where does Grimes fit? Not just on the court, but in the rotation, in the locker room, in the future of this franchise. You feel that tension? That's the hard part of success. You wanted Philly to go big. You wanted the rebuild, the realignment, the restart. Well, this is the cost. Someone's gotta go. And if VJ Edgecombe is the real deal, then Grimes is the name on the trade table. You've seen the flashes. You've watched this front office get aggressive before. Think back to Harden. Think back to Covington. Think back to when you were shocked by what the Sixers pulled off. This feels like one of those moments. So now I'm throwing it to you. Not to make the trade, but to feel it. To ask yourself, are you ready to let Grimes go if it means unlocking Edgecombe? Let me know in the comments if it were up to you. Would you do the trade? And before you start holding on to hope that this front office might hesitate, don't. Because this isn't one of those maybe next season situations. You know Daryl Morey. You've watched him long enough. When he sees a redundancy, when the math on the roster doesn't balance, he acts. And with Edgecombe walking through that door, the scales just tipped. You don't even need the full summer league schedule to see it. This is about spacing. This is about rotation balance. This is about fit. And Grimes, for all he brings, just doesn't offer what Philly needs next to Maxey, McCain, and now Edgecombe. His role, it's shrinking before your eyes. And that's a problem for you. And for the team. Think about what you've been begging this franchise to do for years. Commit. Commit to a core. Commit to a plan. Commit to player development. This is what that commitment looks like. Tough decisions that make room for the future, even if it means parting ways with someone you believed in. Grimes, he's too good to rot on the bench. You know that. He deserves better than 12 minutes per game and garbage time cameos. He's earned more. That's why a sign and trade just makes sense. You get value. You avoid the PR mess of letting him walk. And you preserve the good faith of a locker room that's already on edge after the last 2 seasons. Edgecombe is not just a luxury pick. He's a statement. You don't bring in a guy like that and stash him. You play him. You run with him. You throw him into the fire and let him grow in real minutes. And you've waited long enough to see a rookie come in with that kind of explosion, that kind of fearlessness. He brings the juice, the swagger, the crowd igniting, baseline slashing, breakaway finishing kind of basketball that Philly feeds off. And McCain, let's not kid ourselves. You've seen enough to know he's a building block. You don't give that up this early. You don't. Throw away that kind of poise, that jumper, that chemistry with Maxey, just for the sake of rearranging things. McCain's not going anywhere. Not now. Maybe not ever. So, what do you do when the best version of your team costs you a piece you? Still like, that's where you are. That's where the Sixers are. You can feel it. You can sense it. The trade's not just possible. It's logical. The only logical next move. Don't ignore the signs, the leaks, the language, the tone around Grimes. It's all shifting. Restricted free agent, sign and trade, roster imbalance. These aren't just buzzwords. These are clues. You're getting them because something's already being discussed behind the scenes. And if you're reading between the lines, then you know Sixers news is about to hit like a lightning bolt. This team isn't chasing the 10th seed anymore. You're aiming higher. You're thinking deep playoff run. You're thinking about getting past Boston, past Milwaukee, maybe even knocking out New York. That means plugging every weakness. That means building around Maxey, Embiid, McCain, and now our Edgecombe. Grimes is a casualty of fit, not talent, not attitude, fit. That's the hard truth you have to accept. He's a baller, no doubt. But in Philly's future, he's just not the piece that clicks into place anymore. So now it's your turn. What would you want in return for Quentin Grimes? A forward? A veteran wing? A draft pick? Tell me in the comments if you were in the front office. What trade would you pull to complete this new Sixers puzzle? You're staring down a roster that's finally showing signs of direction, of vision, and you feel it, don't you? It's been years of half measures and waiting games. But this time, this offseason, you can sense that the Sixers aren't bluffing. They're moving with clarity, with purpose. And drafting VJ Edgecombe isn't just a step forward, it's a bold sprint into a new identity. Now, let's be real. That 3rd overall pick could have gone in a dozen different directions. You heard all the noise about Ace Bailey. You read the whispers about trading back. But the moment Edgecombe lit up his private workout, the entire conversation changed. You could see it in the way the front office tightened up. Less leaks, more confidence. That quiet, strategic hum you only get when a decision's already been made. And why Edgecombe? Because you want firepower. You want transition buckets. You want defenders that can stay in front of elite wings, not just wave them through like a traffic cone. And that's exactly what this kid brings. He's strong. He's explosive. He's fearless. The kind of guy that makes you get up out of your seat even when the shot clock says 2. But here's the twist. While fans were fixated on the PG debate or dreaming about McCain trades, the real shift was happening underneath all that noise. The Sixers were already eyeing Grimes as the odd man out. Not because of anything he did wrong, not because he isn't good enough, but because basketball, the highest level of it, comes down to fit and function. You know that feeling when the rotation just doesn't look right? When you're watching the game thinking, why is the spacing so tight? That's what's on the horizon if they don't act. Maxey, McCain, Edgecombe. That's three guys who can all score, handle, and break down a defense. But they need the right kind of support. Players who complement, not replicate Dot, so the Sixers news is not that they're blowing it all up. It's that they're finally optimizing. They're building a team that makes basketball sense. And part of that process is cashing in on Quentin Grimes while his value is still real. A young two-way guard on a reasonable contract with playoff experience. There are teams that will call. You know it. You'd make that call too. But the trade can't just be about dumping Grimes. That's where you hold the front office accountable. You deserve a piece back that actually answers a need. Maybe it's a lengthy forward who can switch onto bigger wings. Maybe it's a backup ball handler who can keep things steady when Maxey sits. Whatever it is, it better not be just a second-round pick and a thanks for your service. And look, you also can't ignore the Joel Embiid factor. You've got a superstar who's been watching the clock tick for years. You've got to show him that this is going somewhere, that every piece on the roster is pushing toward a ring. Not crowding each other's space and limiting their growth. It's about clarity. Identity or Edgecombe brings energy, upside, and positional overlap. That's the reality. So now, instead of clinging to everyone, you trim the roster into something lean, dangerous, and POSTSEASO and dash ready. Now tell me this. Do you think the Sixers can afford to keep both Edgecombe and Grimes heading into training camp? Or is a sign and trade already overdue? Drop your thoughts in the comments and be honest. Would you make the trade before summer league even tips off? And hey, if you care about this team, if you breathe Sixers basketball the way I know you do, subscribe and click the bell right now. Because Sixers news isn't slowing down, and you don't want to miss the next big trade. Let's build this team together. Let's stay locked in.